Representative LoPresti.
Strong support.
Strong support. Please proceed.
Speaker, the most effective way to discourage illegal trafficking in animal species threatened with extinction is to eliminate markets and profits. This bill aims to do that. But I'd like to address a few points that have been brought up in opposition to this bill. First, anyone who thinks that the national ban is effective enough and therefore a state ban is not necessary, I'd say that state-level bans are needed to close up any existing loopholes in federal legislation that allow the illegal ivory trade to continue to flourish. The two largest ivory markets in the country are, or at least were, California and New York, and they have already passed similar legislation. Hawaii then being number 3 behind them, that would make us the largest legal blood ivory trade in the country. This bill already provides exemptions for antiques and cultural practices, Mr. Speaker, for those who have opposed the measure based on exaggerated claims regarding how this would affect their heirlooms and inheritance. But with that in mind, last year I spoke on a similar bill, and I said something along the lines, I don't know if I can quote myself, but I am appalled by the concern that some would care more about the buying and selling of trinkets, Mr. Speaker, than about the annihilation of a majestic species on this planet. And I would expand that to think beyond just this planet and our solar system. Look beyond to the next star system at Proxima Centauri. You're not going to find elephants there. 14 light years away at the nearest Earth-like planet in Kepler 452b, there's no elephants there. This is the only place in the universe where they exist. And are we going to annihilate that species because I like ivory jewelry? This is a huge moral issue, Mr. Speaker. As a species, we human beings have to collectively grow up, I would suggest, and start acting like adults, or at least in a mature and responsible way that resembles our ability to think and act rationally, to think and act morally, and to understand that our purchases and actions as consumers have enormous external consequences. Now I'll just rattle off some numbers here, Mr. Speaker. 30,000 African elephants die each year as a result of poaching. And it's not for their meat, it's for their tusks. The United States is the second largest ivory market in the world, and Hawaii, as I mentioned, is the third largest state market. But now, without this legislation, we're the largest legal one. Tanzania, as just one country in Africa, has lost 60% of its elephant population in the last 5 years. In 2014 alone, Mr. Speaker, 1,215 rhinos were killed in South Africa, home to 80% of the world's rhino population. 80% of Asia's freshwater turtle and tortoise species became at risk of global extinction in the past few years because of the illegal trade. We have lost 97% of wild tigers in the past century. As few as 3,200 tigers exist in the world today. There are more kids at my high school, Mr. Speaker, than there are tigers on this planet. Enough already. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.